So if you're writing in chords by hand and you get confused about writing in chords, making chord progressions, there's a very simple approach in Ableton that is so easy to do. And not only does it sort of sidestep the issues that you've been running into, it actually also gives you a deeper understanding of building those chords, those chord progressions, even using alternative scales in your songwriting process. And by the end of this video, you may have a completely new workflow, inspiring way to write music. Okay, so to get started, I'm gonna have a nice little simple sound. This is Drift. Simple synth sound, it's got some effects on it. Everything's Ableton stock presets. As usual, everything's linked down below if you wanna use these sounds from the video. I'm gonna highlight on the screen one measure at 150 BPM. Hit Control-Shift-M, that's the shortcut that will create a MIDI clip for whatever you have highlighted on the screen. I'm gonna make sure scale mode's on. It's on C major right now. Because of that, I can go to highlight scale and even fold down to scale. So now you're only looking at notes from the C major scale. This gets rid of a lot of the confusion if you're writing in MIDI chords by hand, which is what we'll do. But instead of worrying about stacking chords and making sense of it all, just write in root notes. So the only thing I'm really worrying about right here is I want to fill in, let's say, each measure with a nice long note. And I'm just thinking about creating, a chord progression in root notes. So I'm not even worried about what do I stack? I'm just going to start here. And this will sound pretty tame, pretty simple. If you're in the C major scale, you could use a different scale. But if you're in a major scale, it might sound kind of tame because you're just hearing root notes. You're not hearing chords yet. Don't worry. It's all going to make sense because what we're going to do now is go and grab a MIDI effect to affect those notes that you've just picked out. So now we're going to go over to MIDI effects right there, and you're going to go to chord. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe because I do a lot of these videos. I use a lot of these modules, and you'll get into a habit of watching the videos, using the modules, and using these techniques, and really upping your music production game. So with chord, you drag and drop this before the instrument, not after. So I'm going to drop it right in there. And this is going to take those MIDI notes, those root notes that we simply created, and turn them into chords. Now you want to make sure to hit the scale mode button. So now it's going to respond to whatever you've selected up here. And I'm going to now just use scale degrees because that's what it changed it to. If it's not on scale mode, it'll be semitones, which you can still use, but we're in scale degrees now. So if you go 2, now it's already playing the note that you selected in the MIDI clip, but now it's adding on something that's 2 scale degrees above. That's a third, which is kind of how you build a triad. You have a root, a third, and a fifth. So you're going to do the same thing here, but 4 scale degrees is a fifth. It's kind of confusing, but that's basically what's creating a triad. So just like that, you're creating a triad. Now you could write that in by hand, but it takes longer and it could be a lot more confusing as you want to go deeper into different chord voicings and stuff like that. So this module's really comes in handy. And you can even extend that chord with a 7th if you want to make a kind of a jazzier sound. And that's going to be 6 scale degrees. So it's pretty easy, and you can use the strum feature right here. If I pull this up to like 70 milliseconds. You get this nice dreamy sound kind of going, really cool. And also the cool thing about this module is they give you these other 3 knobs down here. So you could actually take one note and turn it into 7 notes of polyphony with just one of these modules. Really cool. These are velocities right here you can play with as well if you want to change the balance of the notes, their loudness. Really cool. Now where people get really screwed up is that they want to add on, okay, I want to use all of these. Let me use all of these. And they get a sound that isn't really what they expect, right? So how do you extend a chord without messing it up? We already have a nice dreamy sound right here. We want to make it a little bit extended, but not change it. And that's where the chord theory kind of comes in handy. If you want to do that, you could go 8, 9, and 11. And, those are scale degrees again. So in interval terms, that's a ninth, which is really beautiful sounding interval on top of a seventh chord. And the 9 scale degrees is a tenth. That's a third that's just an octave higher. The 11 scale degrees is a 12th, which is a fifth, like you have right here, but up an octave. So now it's going to extend that chord sound for us even further. Sounds pretty beautiful, right? It's got this really dreamy sound, it's super extended, and you can have a lot of fun with this technique when you get into it. And the beautiful thing about this is that it's so easy to make a bass line. So I already have my root note clip right here, right? I can just click and drag this down. I'm holding down Control, and now I'm placing this over my bass instrument, which you can see right here. You can get this down below if you want to use it. It's just a kind of simple, fat drift sound that I've got going on. And when I go into my clip view, you can see I'm in scale fold, I'm in highlight scale, I can see everything. These are going to be higher notes than what we would expect with a bass, right? We just highlight everything, and I'm going to bring it down to the ones and the zeros. Typically, that's where a bass line can be. And technically, just like that, you've got a bass. And I like to add on one other cool thing about bass lines when you're building them, especially because you have the root notes where you want them. You can just add syncopation. And there's a rule I kind of came up with called the rules of ones and threes, or the first measure and the third measure. And basically what this is that we're going to think of some syncopation for the first measure that we're going to like. So I'll just try something maybe like this. And then I'm going to apply that same syncopation to the third measure where we're at the A minor chord. And then we can do, whatever we want on measures 2 and 4. Maybe it'll be a similar thing, but it'll be more simple, let's just say, for the purpose of this video. So I have this syncopation here, and we'll do that for the D minor chord at the end. This kind of creates syncopation, but also continuity in your bass lines. So notice it's more interesting than just the notes that were just going bo, right? But it's got some continuity to it as well, and it happens really fast. So you can add syncopation, not have to think too hard about it, because it's going to feel continuous. So that adds kind of continuity to the sound of the bass, right? Now, where this gets even more interesting is that just like it's easy to make bass lines from this workflow, you can add in alternative scales, modes, modulation into your part writing. It's so easy. And the trick comes from scale mode, like we talked about earlier in the video. Scale mode is tied individually to the clip. So let's just say, for instance, I hold down Control, click and drag, I copy this over, but I change the scale from major to something else. And we could just go with Mixolydian. Mixolydian is a great mode. It's very related to the major scale, but the chords will sound now different. One of the secrets to Mixolydian is the 5 chords. So if C is 1, 5 is G. This is a really beautiful chord because it's a minor chord when you're in Mixolydian, not major or dominant. And it's so easy to go back to our bass line, just click and drag it over, and because we're sticking to root notes, we can go ahead and just take these A's, drag these down to G's, and now all of a sudden you've got this beautiful Mixolydian sound for your track. And because we added those extensions using that chord module on the MIDI rack, you can just immediately have the flavor of that scale really nicely in your music. And you just basically jumped into modal writing. So you have, let's say the verse is in this scale, and then it modulates. And you can take this a step further, a step further, a step further. If you're in a major scale, you can switch it to Mixolydian. It's going to change up the sound of your chords. If you're in a minor scale, you can change it to Dorian. it will change up the sound of your chords. Or to a pentatonic minor, it will take away the half steps, change up the sound of the chords that you're using on that chord preset in the MIDI module. Really, really useful way to write music and get a lot of results fast without getting bogged down in that piano roll. So I hope this video helped you, and if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe. If you're on Patreon, there's a link down below to everything in this session, a full template, MIDI files, bassline files, instrument presets, MIDI rack presets, all that stuff. You can get it down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have fun making music.